spoken English class. It's not a class actually. It's a course for 2 days, about 1.5 hours today and another 1.5 hours tomorrow. So that makes it 3 hours, 3.5 hours. Over the next 3 hours or so, including today and tomorrow, we'll be starting to share as much information as would be necessary and helpful for all of us. Even though Professor mentioned that I'm an expert, all of us are equally comfortable in English. It's only by chance that I happen to be on the other side of the fence, and that's how I have been a trainer for this particular course. But nevertheless, keeping in mind our everybody's need and the purpose of joining this course, I'll try to make it as interactive as possible, and we will learn from each other. I will also learn from you in whatever things you specialize in. Everybody must be an expert, or everybody must have some domain knowledge in some sphere or the other. So I'll also benefit from that, and incidentally, I'll also share mine with you, and then let's make it a mutual learning experience. Now, Professor Datta had shared in the mail and all those groups and all those that this would be a spoken English program, so which all of us understand has become a necessity. Whether we agree or not, or to what extent we agree, is a different issue altogether. But then there's no denying the fact that learning English, or using English, or being empowered in English to some extent is always a necessity, has become a necessity nowadays. Not that those who don't speak or can't speak English can't survive. They also do. In villages, for instance, in the tribal areas, for instance, they also survive and manage without English or any other standard language for that matter. They survive with whatever dialects also they use in their community. But then because they are cut off from the rest of the society, but because they don't feel the need of going out and then interacting with the outer world, with the people in the outer world, maybe they survive to some extent. But we are not going to survive. We will make an impact. We'll try to create an impact in the society we are a part of, a community or society or the world at large. And in the last several years, especially in the last half a century or so, the world, as it were, is shrinking in terms of the communication. Distances are becoming smaller. People, you can reach to somebody the other side of the globe in a minute's time, thanks to the internet, thanks to the communication devices. So virtually, though physically we may not be, but virtually, yes, we can speak to someone, we can see someone, we can communicate with someone in a moment's time, almost as if it were a face-to-face communication. And that's just one of the examples I gave you. There are several where the world has shrunk, and especially in the last 30, 40 years, 50 years, in fact, last 50 years, it has been phenomenal. Incredible developments have happened, and people no longer feel alienated or distanced from people far away. Earlier, we were inhibited, right? We were afraid that, okay, I'm in Bhubaneswar, somebody else in Bombay. How do I get in touch? It takes 18 hours to travel by train. Now, if you take a flight, it'll be about an hour and a half, less than 90 minutes, and you are in. Or even outside the country also, abroad also, we don't take much time to reach now. So that's one aspect. Distances have become smaller. Secondly, linguistic barrier. Earlier, we used to survive. We used to manage with whatever languages, whatever dialects or language or any language that we were comfortable in or we were using. we managed to do with that language. That was because that our exposure was not as much. That was because the need was not felt as much as it is today. And therefore, when we managed to we survived with whatever language, whatever linguistic abilities we had. It might be in Odia, it might be Hindi, it might be any other vernacular language, or for people abroad, their own languages. In Australia and the UK, Canada, and the US, they are English, or in Singapore and Malaysia, their own languages. So whatever languages we had, we were trying to confine ourselves within that linguistic community, and that made life simpler and easier. But then, as it expanded, as development, scientific development, and technological know-hows progressed, we also needed the field. We also felt the need of expanding our scope, and people mobility increased. So the distances no more became a factor, and that's how the feel of learning, the need for learning English or an international language became all the more necessary. Now coming to English, now why English then? If it's an international language, there are 7, 8 international languages like French, German, Spanish, uh, and Russian. So then why English? Chinese Mandarin Chinese, in fact, is the largest spoken language in the world. Incidentally, because they are the most populous country in the world, so their population itself is about 1.5 billion. So all of them speak Mandarin Chinese, and therefore that makes up for about a fifth of the world's population speaking Mandarin Chinese Mandarin. So Chinese, Russian, French, Spanish, German, and all those are international languages. But then problem is uh, those are not common international languages. They are restricted to some parts of the world or maybe a part of the continent, unlike English, which is across the borders. In terms of the number of people speaking English, English may not be the largest spoken language. It's the second largest spoken, by the way. But then, even otherwise, in terms of its reach, in terms of its penetration, in terms of the number of areas that English is used, in terms of the number of people that use English as either first language or second language or a foreign language, the array is a huge large one, which makes English comfortable. Now coming to India, why English is we are comfortable in English and not other languages. Not that we can't pick up French or German or Russian or Spanish. We can. If we could learn English, if we could learn any other language, we can do those languages as well. But then, basically because of the historical reasons, we were uh, ruled by the British for over 200 years, during which there were social and political compulsions where it was almost like imposed upon us. Initially, though, they began using English. People who worked with them in their offices, along with their people, they began to pick up that language to some extent. Later, they took advantage of that and made it almost a compulsory language. So, by opening schools, for instance, so they said they opened public schools in their colonies, and people, their children, they put their children there, and also they said those who wish to learn English can join our schools. And one of the conditions they said, those who fare well in English will be absorbed in our company, in our colonies. We will have offices. We have offices in all these places, Calcutta and Surat and Bombay and Madras and all those. Then Madras, now it has become Chennai. We will have people. We will hire people who are proficient in English. Now that's how. Now that was like a bait. People said, "Wow, if you learn some English, you are going to land up in an office in a colony, in an office, and getting an employment in those days. I'm talking of pre-independence time, 1850s, 1835 onwards, in fact. So 1850s, 1900s. So people began to realize that English was a tool to get them an employment. And getting an employment was anyway, now also, then also, anytime in our history, getting a job, getting an employment, getting something for which you are paid has always been our need. And so people began to, and that also people we never felt that it was going to be a Herculean task, something that would demand so much of our time and money and effort. So that's how people rushed to learn English, and then they uh, gradually they made English official language also. So they said in 1835, Macaulay's Minutes and all those. With Macaulay's Minutes, he wrote a note to the viceroy, and then that's called the minute, Macaulay's minute, famous meeting minute. So there he justified why English education was necessary, and then that was how it came to India. So historically also, we were comfortable using English. We became comfortable using English, and then over the years, we have been doing good. In fact, English is one of Indians are one of the few nationalities in the entire globe who fare well in English compared to other communities, other nationalities. Anyway, Australia, the UK, the US, New Zealand, Canada, they are anyway, English is their first language or their mother tongue sort of thing. In the rest of the world, where English, like Africa, for instance, South Africa, East Africa, also South Africa, East Africa, then Asian countries, many Asian countries, their English was initially a liability. Nobody knew English. Nobody thought of learning English. Nobody was willing to pick up English because anyway they were managing with or comfortable with their mother tongues or their languages in their own regions. But then all these growth and expansion made English more lucrative. So people began to look out for things, look out for English, look out for an opportunity, for a window where they could learn English and then make best use of that. That was how we are comfortable in English. That's about the history. Now about the number, just for the sake of it, let's understand the number. Why English is an important language or a link language or a international language. Number anyway, it's spoken by roughly about 1.5 billion people. So it's almost as much as the population of China. Population, I think, of China is 1.6 billion, so close to that. Almost population of China speaks English in any form, either the first language or the second language or a foreign language. May not be as proficient or may not be as comfortably as we do our mother tongues, but yes, we do. We use English in some form or the other, and that the number itself is about 1.5 billion. That's roughly about a fifth, about closely a sixth of the world's population. About a fifth, 8 billion is the population, world's population. So roughly about a fifth of the people use English, in some form or the other. May not be correct English, may not be spoken fully spoken English, may not be written, but yes, we do, and that's a huge number. 1.5 billion is a huge number of people. If these many number of people use English in whatever form, in some form or the other, there must be something that forced them to, that inspired them to, that motivated them to. Yes, sir. That motivated them to use English. I'll just maybe talk about something, and then I'll in between you can ask me questions. So whenever you have a question, please leave a message in the chat box, or maybe raise your hand. We have a hand raising option. I will see. Otherwise, you can leave the message in the chat box, and I'll get back to you. Oh, I promised at the beginning that we will try to make it as interactive as possible. I don't want to make it a lecture kind of thing, because all of the participants, as I can see, are equally proficient, and therefore I don't feel, or I don't see myself at the other hand being like a professor giving a talk to the students. I don't intend to do that. All of us will discuss. I'll give everybody opportunity to say something or the other, ask question, or chip in with whatever inputs you feel like giving. And I'll also try to uh, respond to things to the extent possible. Yes. So, because it's used either as the first language or the second language or a foreign language by about 1.5 billion people across the globe, and it's the second largest spoken language in the world after the Mandarin Chinese, which happens to be the first the largest spoken language by the sheer number of their people. Uh, it's it has got the unenviable position of the link language, or lingua franca, or link language, international language, and all those. Link language because it connects people. It establishes a connection between peoples and people of England, India and people of England. They come together. That's people of two or more nations together, two or more nationalities together. We use peoples. So peoples of communities, peoples of various countries also they come together, and English comes as a helps or works as a link language. And when we talk of English, I'm here. I'm talking of spoken language or spoken English. Written English because that anyway that involves grammar and rules and all those that we'll see later maybe if time permits, and maybe a part of that I'll discuss in the subsequent session tomorrow. But as of today, let's understand the basic of spoken English. Why what are the things that we uh, need to make our spoken English such that it's understandable? Because one of the purposes, one of the objectives of language, any language, and English in particular, is to convey something to somebody, is to send a message to somebody, is to tell somebody something. As long as you convey that, as long as we succeed in delivering the message, we have done our job well. So and spoken because it's more important than written, because when we meet somebody, when we talk to somebody, when we interact with somebody, the first thing we do is greet and then we talk. We don't write and then give somebody. When we meet somebody, we don't write a thing and then give there. That comes later, after meeting, after discussion. Then somebody might ask us to send a resume, write a letter, send a proposal, all those. That is the second stage. Initially talk to somebody, and that's where somebody can know, somebody wants to know, if at all somebody wants to know about what how you speak, or how your English is, or how you pronounce things, or how you modulate your voice and all those. So that's why that brief interaction between people at the first instance gives you enough opportunity to showcase your talent. Written things come later. Right. Now, then how do we speak? When we speak, like when you write, for instance, we need so many things. We need a piece of paper, we need a pencil or a pen, we need a notepad or a table to keep the notebook on, and then you need ideas or thoughts to write there down. Those are the basic necessities. Similarly, for speaking also, we need so many things. First thing, idea, what do I speak? So some content, some stuff, some material, some resources, something that I have to speak. That's one. That has to be there anyway, that's inside the brain. Now coming to the second part. We need something to speak. So we need some mechanisms are involved there while speaking. Like while for writing, you need your hand, you need a pen to hold so you need you use your fingers to hold the pen or pencil and then do that. Similarly, while speaking also, all the speech mechanisms are involved. Now, those speech mechanism is fundamentally it mostly in most cases it involves we call it the parts that involve there. So beginning with, let's say, lip, we go backward. The lips are the first part, and then you go back, and then you have the teeth. Then go back, and they have the teeth ridge like this. Then go back, and that's the tongue, and then on the then you have the oral cavity, mouth, and then we have uvula, and then we have the wind pipe, trachea, and then of course the lungs, because air gets ejected from the lungs and then comes out through either the mouth or the nose or both. It can, if it comes only through the mouth, it becomes oral sounds. If it comes only through the nose, it becomes nasal sounds. If it comes through both now mouth and the nose together, it's nasalized sounds. So that way, our sounds are produced, human sounds are produced through mechanisms involving three organs. One is respiratory organs, like this. This is what we use while breathing. Respiratory, because lungs, air comes from the lungs also, and then comes out through this respiratory system, consisting of the lungs and the muscles of the chest, then the windpipe or the trachea and all those. Then the phonatory system. This is what Adam's apple, for instance, is a part of that. And then vocal folds. So there's a fold inside the Adam's apple, so that forms the vocal folds. And then you have the epiglottis. Now the third part, the third system, the third component is the articulatory system. How we articulate our sounds or the words or the language, whatever we use. So their tongue comes and then mouth comes, right? Because this is a stationary fixed one. This is moving one. Lower jaw keeps moving. So the lower lip and then the tongue and the teeth. So all those they involve the and even nasal nostrils or nose, the nasal cavity. So that also all those involve the third component or the third part, which we call articulatory system. Those are the three systems which we use in producing sound, and that is any language. I'm not only talking of English. Any language or any sound we produce, these are the systems that are in use. Now, when we use these organs, any or all of these organs, some of them are passive, some of them are active. A passive means they don't move. Mouth, for instance, when we speak something, the upper part of the jaw, this is stationary, it doesn't move. The lower jaw, this is where the hinges are there, kind of thing, so they move. That's why this is the motion. This is in motion, the other one is stationary. Similarly, tongue is the most active articulator. In fact, while speaking, if you don't have a tongue or if you don't use your tongue, you can't speak. It'll be like blabbering, maybe. Without tongue, if you fix your tongue and then tell something, it'll be like blabbering. So that's why tongue is the most active articulator. And so some more are active articulators. Lower lip, for instance, is active articulator. Then upper jaw is passive articulator. Oral cavity and teeth are the passive articulators, and that's how you have active and passive articulator. Now, inside the mouth and the lungs and the entire system, we have the organs of speech. Now, each of these organs has a specific role. Like let's talk of anything. Let's talk about mobile. Each unit has a function. Now there's a let's say there's a display unit on a touch phone, for instance. So if you touch that, those keys, those numbers or keys or all those have specific function. In order to enter a number, in order to enter a word, a letter or a word, you use that. Similarly, you have volume button. So that's to raise or lower the volume of the sound of the phone. Then you have one more slot there where you can put your phone, and then that helps you to connect and listen to that quietly without disturbing others. Then you have a camera there. So similarly, each one has a function. So organs of speech also, each organ has a specific role to do or a specific function to perform. And the organs are all the organs of speech or whatever that we understand as organs, like starting with the lips and down to the lungs. All of them are involved in some way, to some extent or the other, in some way, in some measure or the other. Not that we use all of them together for everything. For something, some of them are used. For something, some others are used. Some are used to a large extent. Some are used to a less extent. But then the tongue remains the most active articulator. Among all the parts of speech, organs of speech, the tongue remains the most active part. Whatever sound we generate, whatever things we say, the tongue becomes the most active articulator. And then you have the lips also, which anyway determine the sound we use. Because basically when we speak English, 3-4 fundamental things are involved. We speak that using these 3-4 basic things. First one is, when you want to tell somebody something, one of the preconditions is that the other person must also be able to understand English. That's the first condition. We go the premise that this gentleman, this person, understands some English. That's one. Second thing, when I speak, I must be so clear that not a single syllable, not a single sound escapes without being heard. So clarity, loud enough. If somebody is at a distance, you are speaking to a number of people sitting in a hall, or let's say 100 people. You must be loud enough. Without microphone, for example, we should be loud enough so that everybody hears. But if you're talking to somebody face to face, you don't have to speak so loudly. So that's why that depends on the modulation with which we use that. If a number is less, if you are face to face, if you don't have too many disturbances or noise interference from outside, you don't need to be too loud. So that's two, clarity. Number three, space. Depending on the level, if you're talking to a small kid, if you're talking to somebody who may not be able to good at English, you can't afford to speak so fast. He or she will not be able to understand. Things will go away, and it feels as if it goes over the head. That will make the communication break down. It won't serve the purpose. So the pace also is necessary there. And then, of course, technical things like the accent, for instance, or word stress, for instance, or pronouncing a particular sound in a particular way, in the RP way. All those are technical things. They will also come to play. But what is necessary is that we want to tell somebody something, and as long as we do that, we deliver that, we convey the message, people get that, our job is half done. Well begun is half done. The remaining half we will do with communication. That's it. So that's how we make it succeed. So we decide to speak on something. That content is there in the head. The receiver, we are the sender. So receiver, I'm talking of communication cycle where you have the S and R, and then you have the feedback. So S is the sender, R is the receiver, and then you have the communication or the message, and then you have the feedback. So that person says, yeah, I got it. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get you. I'm sorry I couldn't hear you. So those are feedbacks, and that makes the cycle complete. So you need to modulate your voice accordingly. You need to adjust your pace accordingly. Don't have to speak too fast. Don't have to speak too slow. So that moderation is necessary. And then, of course, pronouncing words exactly in the British way. We don't have to imitate the native speakers. We don't have to do that. We have our own way of doing that. We will do it our way. But then it has to fit into some benchmark. We can't create our own benchmark, say my English is my English, whether you understand or not is your problem. No, we can't say that. In a world which has become almost like a global village, we can't afford to do that. We are then communication fails, it breaks down. So we have to stick to some benchmark, we have to follow some rules, but then yes, in our own way, in our own inimitable way, we will do our best to speak English and make it as acceptable to people as possible. All right. Yes, sirs and ma'ams also there. Yes. Any any observation or anything you want to share or comment or suggest, or is going good and will continue? Okay. Now the sounds of English. All of us are aware, all of us know that there are 26 letters in the alphabet. We don't say there are 26 alphabets. That's wrong. Alphabet is a set. So there are 26 letters in the English alphabet. Now, those 26 letters, A through G, A, B, C, D, and all those, each of those letters is independent, is unique, is separate. Similarly, sounds also, there are 44 sounds. In English, there are 44. Again, each of those 44 sounds also is unique. One sound cannot be replaced with other. If you replace one with the other, that results in a new word. If it results in a new word, then the sound is not the same one, which is why we call minimal pairs. So pin, for instance, PIN, pin. In a word like PIN, pin, if you replace the sound E, for instance, the short E, with, let's say, A, it becomes pen. Now, pin and pen are two different things. They are not similar. Similarly, you have PIN, pin, and then PIP, let's say. Again, if you replace the N with P, that becomes another word, pin and pip. So again, they are different words, which is why they are different sounds. So that's minimal pair. That will come later. But there are 44 sounds and there are 26 letters. So that's a problem now. Because, which means that, which at least leads to one basic understanding, one clear understanding, that we may have some sounds which may be used by more than one letters. There are 26 letters and 44 sounds. So some same letters may be producing different sounds, or some sounds may be produced by some letters or combinations of letters. It's both ways. So let's understand a few of the examples. And those sounds, we can break them down into two parts: consonants and vowels. Vowels, again, we have two. We have pure vowels or monophthongs and diphthongs. Diphthongs are made up of two sounds together, two vowel sounds together. If we use those sounds together, now I, for instance, ice cream, or mice, or smile, or price, or kite. In all these sounds, in all these words, that sounds with I is a diphthong, because that's made up of two sounds, A and E. But then other sound like pen, for instance, or smell, or cat, or a bull, or dull. In all these, there are single sounds: dull, or vowel. I'm talking about vowel sound. Or cat, or sheep, so e. Now those are single sounds. They are monophthongs. Diphthongs are those which are made up of two sounds grouped together, functioning as one sound. Okay. So now let's look at some consonants first. If you wish, I can run through the entire list, but the choice is yours. If you want me to do that, I don't mind running through the entire sounds and discuss each of them. Otherwise, anyway, this file would have been shared with you. You can run through them and see it at your leisure whenever you feel like, and then get back to us for any clarity or clarification if you wish. Alternatively, we can run through some as specimens, as examples, to understand how it works. So one sound, for example, let's say P. Let's say P as in pen, or couple, or people, and all those. How one sound P is produced by letters or combination of letters. We'll take a sample of some maybe 4 or 5 sounds from consonants, and another 3 or 4 sounds from the vowels to understand them. And also the other way, we'll see how one letter is used to produce some different sounds. We'll see both ways, maybe 3 or 4 each. So that makes it for 16 examples. We'll see and understand how it works, and that will broaden our understanding of how it's slightly complex, not really unachievable or difficult, but slightly complex than we think it is. All right, let's start with P, for instance. P as in pen. How is this sound generated? P is generated by the combination of, by individual sounds, some individual letters, or combination of letters. One, for instance, apple, 2P. So PP, we don't say apple, say apple. Or single P, as in cap. Or F and P, as in halfpenny, half penny. We spell it as half penny, HALFPENNY. We call it halfpenny. So that for and per, they result in one sound per. Or hiccup, like this we do when we need water. We like this hiccup, like this. This is hiccup. So that's OUGH. That gives us a sound per. Or shepherd, in the word shepherd, PH. That gives us a word that gives us a sound per. Or PE, as in most of the words ending in E and with P, PE, and all those, they are also pronounced as per. So tape. Or another word, another sound, let's say ka, as in kite, or kin. So kite, so ka, single K letter, single K, that gives us kite. Or let's say acquire or acquisition, ACQUIRE, CQU, that gives us one sound ka. So there also it's ka, CQ. Similarly, C, let's say can, I can do it, or there's a can of milk. So there C functions as a C gives us a sound ka. Or CH, as in chemist or chemistry. So there CH combined gives us a sound like ka. Or Excel sheet, or excellent. So Excel, X and C, that again gives us a sound like ka. So Excel. Or we have liquor, QU, that again gives us some. That was acquire is CQU. This is QU. So, or in a queue also, he is standing in a queue. So QU, that also gives us a ka sound. Or CK combined together, pack, a pack of wools, a pack of biscuit, so pack, CK. Or Q, as in queen. Or Ricky, RECCE, double C, CC, that also gives us a sound like ka. Or saccharin, like a sugar, SACCHL, CCH. So CCH, combination of those three letters, CCH, also gives us a sound like ka. Or double K, as in trekking, He has gone on trekking, so that also gives us a sound like ka, double K. Or zucchini, CCH, like saccharin. This also CCH, so gives us something like ka. One more, maybe we will see one more sound to understand. Let's say, let's look at one more sound. Okay, let's see. Let's see sha, like sheep. So SH, sheep. SH combined together gives us a sound sha. Or CH, like machine. CH, machine, gives us again sound like CH. That's then only C, appreciate. There C itself, that sound C, letter C gives us a sound sha. Or Asia, S gives us a sound Asia Pacific, or Asia is the largest continent, Asia. Then bush, SH. Then chef, CH gives us a sound like shaw, chef, one who cooks well. Then conscience, SC, conscience. So there SC gives us a sound like shaw. Or crescendo, again SC. Or cushion, SH. Facial, C. Fisher, double S, FISSURE, Fisher. So that's again gives us a sound like shaw. Or lotion, TI. Motion, lotion, and all those. Ration, TION. So that also gives us a sound like shaw. Or mustache, CHE. Or pension, only SI, S and I. Or noxious, obnoxious, XIX. That also gives us a sound like shaw. Or CE, ocean. Or SHE, schedule, SHE. or sugar S. In S, using only S letter, we can generate a sh sound as in sugar or sure. So that's how some sounds, the same sound is used by using different, is produced by using different combination of letters. Some use more than 20, some use 5. So that's it. Now coming back to the place of articulation. When we speak something, there are different places that the sounds are generated or produced, beginning with the lungs until the tip of the tongue, until the lips. The lips are the last point, terminal point, where air escapes through the lips. And depending on the shape of the lip, the force with which the air comes, the amount of closure that the mouth is in, lips, the teeth ridge and teeth, the amount of the pressure that the lips are closed with, all those determine these sounds. So that's why we call them place and manner of articulation. I'll run through them quickly to acquaint you with how these things shape our sounds. They are fundamental in understanding. It's like science. So when you understand, when you want to something, want to know how chlorophyll helps trees in getting their in cooking their food, we need to actually show a plant and then see them and show them to the students, telling, look, this is how it cooks its food, like our mom cooks food. This is how this tree also cooks food. So that's why if you keep a plant near the window, it tends to move towards the window pane, away from there and then beyond the window. That's because it always follows the source of the light, heat. So there also this, in this case also, this science is basic. Let's understand some of this. So those place and manner of articulation also determines the sounds, each of the sounds. We need not, it's not necessary for us to go through all the technical things, but basically we should understand something to some extent in some measure. So bilabial is when both the lips are engaged. Both bilabial, bi is two and labial is the adjective of lips. So bilabial, two lips are involved in the sound. So something like pa. When we say a word like pin or paper or prize, this is how our lips are involved. Pin, bilabial, both lips are, or win, or wash. So there, wa, pa, and all those, they are involved there, or bin, basket, barber. So there, ba again, ba, these sounds, lips are closed. Similarly, dental, some sounds they are articulated by the tip of the tongue against the back of the tongue, bottom or back of the teeth, bottom of the teeth, behind the teeth, or bottom. So like something like thaw. So when we say cloth, when you say cloth, or maybe the as in breathe, like this. So that's dental sounds. That are generated by using the tongue, tip of the tongue against the teeth or the teeth ridge, upper teeth or teeth ridge. Those are dental sounds. Similarly, there are something like, let's say, palatal. A palate is the roof of the mouth. When you open your mouth, this is the palate of the mouth. This is the soft palate and hard palate. Hard palate is when you take your tongue and then touch the roof of the mouth. Wherever it's a little hard, that's hard palate. Behind that, it's soft. It's soft, and so that's the soft palate. So palatal sounds are articulated by raising the front of the tongue towards the hard palate. This, and then yaw, for instance, yaw as in yell. Don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. This is yell. So those are places of articulation. Now coming to the manner of articulation. Plosives. When the air comes out of the mouth with explosion, with force from the lungs, it's generated at the lungs and then come through the folds, and then it, because it's blocked, if you close your lips and block it, the air has to escape with force, with explosion, which is why it's called plosive. So it comes with force, it comes with some extra force, and because this is blocked, because this lips block the airflow, and so it builds a pressure in the oral cavity, and then it released suddenly, and that leads to explosion or plosives. So something like, let's say, per as in pole, 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 or pipe, or paper, or parent, and so forth. Then b as in bite, or boxer, or big, so that's b. Or ka as in kite, or cattle, or camera, and all those. Then the as in dog, or donkey, or dull, or deer, and all those. So in these cases, these are all plosives, because air escapes through the lips, through the mouth, with explosion. Another can be, let's say, fricatives. Fricatives are again when the air forces its way through a narrow gap between the two articulators, articulators, active and passive. It comes through that. So for instance, thin, think, thought, and then, or maybe vo as in voice, or voice, or vial. So those are sounds that are used to those sounds, those fricatives, escape or force the air forces its way through a narrow gap between the two articulators, and that's how those sounds are generated. Now, consonants can be both voiced and voiceless. We can have voiced and voiceless. So when the, of course, that's again is shaped by the amount of vibration. When you generate sound, it vibrates. So when you say, that's why, now how do we feel the vibration? If you place the back of the finger, any finger, preferably index finger, at the vocal folds, here there's an organ here, vocal folds. If you put the back of the finger there, index finger there, and then tell something, or sing something, pronounce something, you can feel the vibrations. So that's how these vibrations, we know that somebody is speaking. In fact, singers do that, practice that. So while if somebody is deaf or dumb, if somebody can't hear the sounds, they are made to feel this one here, and that gives them the feel that somebody is speaking or somebody is pronouncing some sound. And because of a long time habit, they do it for a long time, they can make out what sound is generated, what sound is being produced here, and they can tell you that he is telling this word, he's using this sentence, he's pronouncing my name, he's using a word, he's telling something, right? Okay. uh, so there are 9 voiceless consonants in English. Out of those 24 consonants, 24 consonants English, and 20 vowels in English. Out of 20 vowels, you have 12 pure vowels or monophthongs and 8 diphthongs. And consonants, you have 9 voiceless, and remaining 15 are voiced. So p, t, k, g, k, f, ch, these sounds are voiceless, and the others are like b, d, g, these sounds are voiced. Uh, and similarly, when we uh, pronounce a word or a sound, any sound, generate a sound also as an isolated sound, or as a part of a word, that can tell us, that gives us how this sound, whether this sound is voiced or voiceless. Okay. And now when it comes to vowels, from consonants, voiced and voiceless, 24, so 15 are voiced and the 9 are voiceless. Then coming to the vowels, you have monophthongs and diphthongs. Diphthongs are those which are made up of 2 sounds together, put together as one unit, and the remaining 12 are monophthongs or pure vowels. They are isolated sound, one single sound, E and A and all those. Let's run through them quickly. Let's see them, like we saw the consonants, how one sound is generated by a number of letters or combination of them. Similarly, in vowels also, a couple of them we will see to, let's see to understand how one sound can be generated by using some letters or combinations thereof. Let's say, let's take long E. E as in beak or peel or leaf. Let's say achieve, ACHIE. Now IE is a combination here. IE, achieve. Or AE, aesthetic. AE, aesthetic. Or amoeba, OE, amoeba. OE also gives us a long sound, long E. Or Eve, only E. Only E also gives us a long E sound. Or IX, as in Prix, Grand Prix, that Grand Prix race. Or Lee, Leigh, whole thing, EIGH. Or EA, as in meal, or leaf. And double E, as in meat, MEET, meat. Or METE, E, again, there also, it's a long E. Or single E again, negro. One E also can produce long E sound, as in negro. Or pediatric, PE. E again, pediatric, E. Or EO, as in people. We don't say people, people. Or UAY, key. UAY, all these three put together gives us, the combination gives us a sound E. Or only I, as in taxi. It's a long I, taxi. Or turkey, key, EY. EY again, this combination also gives us a long E. Maybe one more letter, one more sound we can see to understand. Let's say, okay, weak, as in ago or above, and all those. So above, that A, the first letter A is a weak vowel, ago or above. Or AW again, AW gives us something like ori. So that's again a short weak vowel. Or Bajad, UZZARD. So Bajad. That second A is a weak vowel again. Or Sharab. Again, U gives us a weak vowel, Sharab. Or Kabor. Kabor again, BOAR. OAR. OA gives us a weak vowel, Kabor. We don't say cupboard. We say Kabor. Similarly, famous, OU. OU gives us again weak vowel, famous. Or EI, foreign. So OFOREIGN, foreign. Then jealous again, OU gives us a weak vowel, mother, odor, pigeon, violent, and tortoise. Now, in each of these cases, from these examples, at least one thing is clear: that there is no symmetry or sync between the number of letters in the English alphabet and the sounds they can generate. Anyway, number is also different. There are 26 letters in the alphabet, and they produce 44 sounds. Now we saw some examples here, both vowels and consonants, where we saw how one sound in E long E, for instance, here we saw, or Pa there we saw, one sound can be or is produced by using a combination of letters, some 2 letters, 3 letters, and all those, and results are the same. Now we will have an example to understand the other side of the story, how some letters, some sounds, some same letters are used to produce different sounds. Some letters, in this case, we saw one sound is produced by a combination of letters. We will see how one letter produces some sounds. Letter produces some sounds, and now when we look at that, one thing we must understand. We have 26 letters there, right? That we are clear. That 26 letters are there in the alphabet, and they are capable of producing 44 sounds. So which means that we are aware of a rule, we are aware of at least one fact, that there is no synchronicity, there is no symmetry between the number of sounds and the number of letters and the number of sounds. In other cases, in our vernacular, for instance, Hindi or Bengali or Odia or Telugu, for instance, we have, it's almost always symmetrical. If you say I am मैं मैंने ताजमहल देखा है, if we say मैंने ताजमहल देखा है, now there may, that ma is constant. It's always, you have only one letter in the alphabet, in the Hindi alphabet, ma. It does not change with any other letter, any other word, any other sound. So ma means always, ma is always pronounced as ma, and it's one letter. Similarly, in other language also, in Telugu, for instance, tisko. If you say, let's say tisko, the ta or ka, now that's again 1:1. You have that one letter in the alphabet, ta, and that is always, invariably always, ta. It does not get, it's not produced by combination of some other sounds, or it does not mean something else when used in a different word. Ta is always ta. Depending on whatever word you use, that meaning is different. But then the ta remains ta. Unlike in English, where that letter S can be pronounced in some other way, or letter long word, we use it as a weak form, in the weak form. So we say, I bought it, he gave me, he showed me your car. That yo again is a weak word, weak syllable or weak word, and those are helpful in cutting down the uh, length of the words, length of the sounds that we use, and so they help us uh, articulate correctly without mincing anything, without losing anything. That we can't afford to lose some information that has to be there. But then, when we use weak forms, they help us in getting what we call fluency. Now, fluency is one of the requirements of spoken English. One of the features of spoken English is fluency. You should have accuracy, that you should accurately pronounce something. You should have also fluency. So it should have a moderate pace. It can't be too fast. It can't be too slow. So when you say something with moderate pace, that's what is fluency. So accuracy and fluency. So these weak forms help us in getting or achieving what is called fluency. So you say, are you there? Are you there? Now there are three words. Are you there? We don't say, are you there? We say, are there. Are there. So that are and you, it again gets weaker, and that you, they become, so are you there? So there maybe gets highlighted. So that's how weak forms help us in getting what may be called fluency. Another can be, let's say will. We don't say he will come tomorrow. Say he'll come tomorrow. Instead of he will, we say he'll. Now that he'll again it shortens it becomes shorter than then he would take time to pronounce he will. So he'll. Or have again, I have done that. I have done that. I have seen him. Instead of telling, I say I've. I and VE. So that becomes I've. We write them normally with a stroke on the top, so which is something like an apostrophe. So I, an apostrophe, like in the apostrophe S, apostrophe and VE. So that becomes I've. So I've done that. That means I have done that. But because we don't want to stress on have, and we want to save some time. It may not be a second, it may not be a minute. It will be much less than a millisecond. But even that's important in order to achieve fluency. So we say, I've done that. In a long sentence, you tell if you are speaking, if you are giving a long talk. Now, these things are important because they will add fluency and variety also to the speech. Okay. So far, so good, sir. Everybody, there's no issue. There's no question, no opinion, no suggestion. Yes, sir. Very good, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rabindranath. Thank you, Anjan Mishra. Thank you, Padiam. Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. Thank you, Professor Prabhakar. Thank you, Mr. Mian, Kaji Mian. Thank you, ma'am, Savita. Now, in 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 whatever we speak or say, it can be, the forum can be anything. It can be a formal session, it can be an informal chat between people, or it can be a short communication between an individual and a group, or a group and another group. It can be anything. But then one thing is certain, one thing is clear, that we need one thing is certain, that we need to be yes sir, yes, Mr. Ramesh, yes, we need to be careful about a few things. First, when we, if it's a public forum, if it's a formal setting, many of us, most of us know English very well. Most of us, I can tell most of us, many people in India are comfortable in English. We can speak as good or as well as the native speakers do. Only problem is we lack confidence. We don't feel like we are scared to speak. We are afraid to speak. We feel that people might laugh at our English, and therefore we don't muster enough courage to speak. We know that. We also know that we can speak well, but we don't muster courage to go to speak. That's one. Second thing is because of the lack of training, either because you don't need that, or because we don't, some for whatever reason we did not get the proper training, or because we were not able to devote much time to understand the basics. Whatever the reasons, they are, most of them are okay. So because we didn't feel the necessity, we didn't feel we didn't have the time, or we didn't have the maybe requirement, something or the other, we did not, and therefore we feel that our English is not good. But many of us, I can assure you, most of us speak good English, better English than many people do. If you have seen, if you have heard the people of the Chinese and the Singaporeans and the Malaysians speak English, ours is much better. Ours is 100% better than theirs. Indians English is one of the best forms of English, pretty close to the native speakers. Uh, people in other regions, China, I gave you example, China, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, uh, Africa, many parts of Africa, several parts of Europe, Italy, Spain, and all those, their English eh, is not as good as ours. Our English, Indians English, is better than, yes sir, yes, Anjan, I'll tell. So our English is better than theirs, and which is why we have reason to boast of, reason to be proud of, reason to be happy about. And therefore, only thing that we need is confidence. That yes, I can speak, sir. What happens if it goes well? If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. We'll fix. Heavens are not going to fall if my English is wrong. If what I speak is not correct. If what I speak is doesn't follow the British accent, it's all right. It's all right. We will our as long as we succeed in sending a message, in sending across a message, as long as we succeed in sharing our opinions with somebody, we have done a good job. Yes sir, for this we have a just 1 second, sir. In the chat box, I'm pasting the title of the book that will definitely help you get the okay. Now coming to the silent letters. Some words, some sounds get they become silent. You can't hear them. We eat up those sounds, and that's again like in the previous unit we saw that we some words are contracted so that we like I for instance instead of telling I have done that we say I've done that. So that have I and have it gets contracted and it saves some time. Similarly, in again in English there is one more feature which is silent letters, and that also helps in understanding how certain sounds, some letters can go silent, and we don't pronounce them. So let's say in walk, I'll some examples I'll give you quickly. 4 5. I have a list of A through G, A through Z, all the words, all the letters of the alphabet which are silent. A, for instance, aesthetic. We in aesthetic A is silent, or in jar or indite C is silent, or in paradigm or resign G is silent, or in knife K is silent, or in mnemonic M is silent. Cupboard P is silent, cupboard, or X is silent in Xerox, or Z is silent in rendezvous. Z is silent in rendezvous. So those are or him in him N is silent. Now these letters are silent. They go silent in these examples. Uh, that's just for our understanding, not that they are necessary, and without these we can't speak. But then if we are aware of the rules, if we know that okay, these words in these cases in these words, some sounds go silent. We don't pronounce them, so that we won't pronounce word like walk. We don't say walk. We say bulk of the work, but then we say walk. So there L is silent. But in bulk, L is not silent. Similarly, in resign, G is silent. We don't pronounce G there. But then in somewhere else, like let's say sigma, six sigma, G is not silent there. So depending on the context, some sounds are silent, some are not, and that understanding that will help us understand why whether some this when some words are some letters are silent, some sounds are silent, well, how we use them and we can use them to our advantage. Okay, let's look at the word stress. When we tell something, because it's English is a stress syllable. Every when we speak a sentence or make a speech, short or long, whatever, irrespective of the length, each word is depending on the context. Some words get accented or stressed. Some words get more prominence than the others. Some syllables, part of the word gets more stressed or more. They become more important. They sound like they are important than they are in other cases, and that is what is stress or accent or word stress. So some part of the word which is a syllable. A part of a word is a syllable. Syllable is the smallest unit in language. It is when you break down a word into, you can break down a word into several syllables. In pencil, for instance, pen is a syllable and sil is a syllable. Pencil is a word, but there are two syllables there, pencil. And there are 6 letters there, Pencil. There are 6 letters, one word, 2 syllables. And the pencil, it receives the accent in the first syllable, pencil. We don't say pencil, it's a pencil. So that's how that gets prominence. That part, that pen, the first part gets more prominence than the remaining part, than the other part. And let's run through some examples to understand. Uh, there are words with, let's say, accent on the second syllable. In words with two or more syllables, there are some words which get accented in the second syllable. So let's say forget. We don't say forget, forget me, forget me not. Or present, as a verb. He presented uh, a paper in the conference, but he gave me a present. So they are present as a noun in the first syllable, but he presented a paper. Is there present is a second syllable, is accented in the second syllable. Or forget, don't forget me. There forget is again it's accented in the second syllable. Or there are words again with the accent on the third syllable. So something like, let's say, creativity. So that's it's a long word. Creativity. Four. So you say creativity. Or imposition, or imposition. So again, imposition. Or fourth syllable again, organization. MTC Global Organization. MTC Global Organization. Or apologetic. He was apologetic for his remark. He sounded apologetic at his remark. The accent on the fifth syllable. Fifth. There are five or more syllables. So something like, let's say, reconciliation. Okay. Let's say something like reconciliation. So reconciliation. Okay. All right. So maybe we will end this class, today's session now, and we resume from here in the next class, because there are some questions I think it necessary to respond. Okay, I will go. Let's look at the questions. Some questions are there. How to develop? Mr. Ramesh asks, how to develop confidence in speaking English. Sir, I told that all of us are comfortable in English. Only thing we lack is confidence. And in order to gain confidence, one of the ways is to be confident. If you want to learn swimming, the first thing you should do is to get into the swimming pool and jump into the pool, and then maybe to start with a support, with help from somebody, or at a shallow pool, not into a river first, but then yes, you will get into the water to learn swimming. Similarly, to speak English confidently, you need to speak. Whatever forum you get, wherever it is, whatever you do, whatever platform you get, make the best use of that. Get into speaking. Initially, you may not feel comfortable. Initially, you feel that people are laughing. Initially, you might get remarks from somebody, but that's okay. That's all right. Because our learning or our excelling does not depend on somebody else's recommendation or somebody's comments or observations. If somebody gives a positive reinforcement, a positive feedback, telling, yes, sir, you can do well, sir. I know initially it's difficult. I also fumbled initially, but now I can see gradual improvement. Last time when you spoke, it was terrible, but now it's better, sir. So now that boosts your confidence. So make the best use of the opportunity. Speak in English wherever you get a chance, and don't get scared by people, offended by things, because we are doing it for our own good, not for somebody else. And somewhere, in case we feel that people are not doing that, then initially we can do it ourselves at our own home. Speak to our own people, your friend, your spouse, your children, anybody, and then say, okay, see me, listen to me, and then tell where I'm going wrong, because I'm going to speak tomorrow at a public forum. I'm going to make a presentation. So listen to me carefully and then tell me where I'm going wrong. 5 minutes you speak to them, and then they will give you feedback. 100 things they will tell you. The yeah, it's okay, but then you are speaking too fast. So okay, one thing, then you slow down. Okay, fine, great, thank you. Somebody will say, no, your pronunciation is terrible. You say, that's okay, I'll try. Then you look up a dictionary maybe in order to learn how to pronounce a certain word. And there's a million word there are a million words in English. You don't have to look at everything. Most of the things that you use in your daily life, look up those words to understand. There are pronunciation symbols there. You look at the after the word, it's given noun and or adjective or something. After that, there's a pronunciation within slash, and that's the pronunciation. And you know that you pronounce that way. So that will help you. In tomorrow's lecture, we will discuss how to pronounce words and how to transcribe words, and then some basic trick also we will see, and that will help you. Then number three, how is my eye contact? How is my body language? How is my gesture? They will say, okay, it's good, very good. Next, number four, you say, okay, tell me my dress code and all those. Does it look good? Can I speak to a forum in a short? No. If you're going physically, you can't. Virtually, if you are speaking in a public space, in your shorts and or a lungi or a banyan or a vest. So that's why that also is necessary. And then once you initially you may be fumbling, initially you may not be quite comfortable, but yes, over a period of time, 5 times 10 times you do that, will take you places. Then there's one more. Yes, Anjan Mishra again, sir. Anjan Mishra asks, what is syllable? Syllable is the smallest unit of language, and when that's the that's where you can break down a word into several syllables. So pencil, I give you example, or university, university, 5, or table, 2, table, right? Or photograph, photograph, 3. So those are syllables. One portion, one part of a word that you can pronounce at a breath, and then that's the next is a break again. So photograph, right? Table. That's a part that's smaller than a word and is made up of sounds. One sound, more sounds. Okay, one or more sounds. Then Mallikarjun sir says, hello sir, thanks for your time. I can send messages and emails. Yes sir, thank you. Could you please suggest? Fine. Ramesh again sir says, how to manage or control students with our talk. Uh, if you are if you're a teacher, if you're asking me how to control students in a class, teacher, as a college level students or school level students? Dr. Rabindranath says, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your time. Acha. Mr. Ramesh says, school, acha, school. School, if you're teaching English and if it's, and it's not necessary that they make a noise only with English class. So let's not take it that way. Children generally tend to make noise irrespective of the subject. So let's not be let down by thinking that only in English class they do that. That's one part. Second part of the question, second part of the discussion is that in order to control them, we are facilitators in a class. So let's consider them also as a part of the same setup, as the part of the same learning, uh, teaching learning processes where they are also equal partner or equal stakeholders. Because most of us in our schools don't feel, don't think, don't take them as our, don't consider them as our stakeholders. Things happen, things go this way. All right. So if you consider them as your as equal partner, as a stakeholders, they won't have anything to grieve about. Now, if you when you tell something and then they don't, they are not ready to, they are not prepared to listen to you, then give them some activity which will trigger them to huddle together, because getting them to orient them to the class itself uh, is a slightly difficult proposition. And so give them their space and time to orient themselves, to reorient themselves. From science class, from physiology class, you get back to English class, and that needs some transition, some time, some space. So let's give them some space, some time to reorient from sociology or physiology class or SUPW to English. So that orientation, if with the space, if we give them, we understand them, they will appreciate our understanding, and they will be okay. And then give them activity instead of telling them, okay, boys and girls, okay, I am going to give a lecture on something, so you have to listen to me for the next 45 minutes without opening your mouth. Nobody will listen to you. But if you say, okay, let's do it together, you do, I do, let's do it together. So we'll talk about let's say something like COVID-19. Every one of us will talk about COVID-19 for 3 minutes each. And okay, if you want, I can start, and then you can voluntarily do. So people will now say, and then you say, also there are rewards at the end. Whoever speaks the best will get something. Will get a pencil. Will get an A grade. Will get some more marks in the test. Will get a huge round of applause, kind of thing. Then people say, sir, I will speak, sir, I can speak, sir, I will do. So that way, we need to encourage and motivate. Those who can't speak, some people fumble, some people stammer. We say, yes, you can do, sir. So give them opportunity. Let's not laugh. Let's give such people more opportunities. So 2, 3, 4 times they do. One time you will see, once 5 months, 5 weeks later, you will see that boy or girl will have spoken well. So that's how. Need to motivate, need to encourage, need to give them their own space and time. Dr. Ravindranath, yes, sir. If somebody has reasonably good speaking skills, how can it be perfected, sir? Sir, if we have a reasonably good speaking skill, perfecting is not at all a difficult proposition, because if we understand the basics, problem lies with our understanding the basic. Many people, because they are not comfortable with the basics, they struggle with that, which is why they are graduating to the difficult level becomes all the more difficult. But if somebody has a reasonably good standard, good skill, then getting to the nuances will be much easier. So let's say pronouncing a word, we can always look up a dictionary or listen to a tape and then understand or see how it's spoken, or break down a word into syllables and then see where it's stressed. We see a pattern 5 times, 10 times. You use a particular thing over a period of time, and we find a pattern, and we know that okay, in such cases these words get accented or stressed in these places, or my flow is affected because of this, or my pitch slows down at some pace, and therefore there is some people may not hear in between, and so I lose out on content. Or because it's a monotone, something like, okay, India is a large country, India has a population, has 1 billion people. Now it's monotonous. We say, yes, sir, yeah, we know India is a huge country with a 1 billion people, and you know that 1 billion people is as big, is twice as big as the people, is 3 times as big as the people of the US. Now that fluctuation, that variation will add. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm done. In case anybody has any query, we can also discuss tomorrow. We are meeting again tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for sparing your time and choosing to join our program and trusting in me more than trusting in Professor Datta. Anyway, he's an iconic person. So you trusted me and chose to join this course. That indicates that all of us are willing to learn from each other. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the interest that you took to choose this course. We will try our best, both Professor Datta and I will try our best to give as much as is possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful session. So let us call off
for today. And we'll start the session exactly tomorrow at 4:30.
Yes.
And we'll continue.
Thank
you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, all the participants.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.